Since 1985, Continuum has had the tremendous fortune to explore new ideas in music in Toronto, where the trees meet the water. Toronto is home to many indigenous people from across Turtle Island and has been a site of human activity for more than 15,000 years. We recognize that we are here because this land was colonized. Indigenous communities and allies struggle against the ongoing consequences of our colonial system. This land is the territory of the Petun First Nations, the Seneca, and most recently the Mississaugas of the Credit River. The territory was the subject of the Dish with One Spoon Wampum Belt Covenant, an agreement between the Haudenosaunee Confederacy and Confederacy of the Ojibwe and allied nations to peaceably share and care for the resources around the Great Lakes. We are enormously grateful for the generosity of all Indigenous people who share this land with us and allow us to live and work here as uninvited guests.
Welcome to Continuum's 26th episode of Press Play, our web series that dives deep into extraordinary works of contemporary music in both their performance and in informative conversations with the artists who create the work. My name is Joyce, and I am the host of Press Play and a co-curator for this episode. This episode features Connor Donetto, whose music draws together post-minimal, neoclassical, and pop influences combined with the delicate incorporation of electronic music elements. In 2021, Connor was the recipient of the APRA AMCOS Professional Development Award in the Classical Experimental category, and in the same year was performed by the LA Phil and listed as one of the 21 hottest creative artists of 2021 by The Australian. Connor is the Associate Director of Dots and Loops, a Brisbane-based concert series that focuses on community-centered, immersive, post-genre experiences. Connor is also a Brisbane City Council Lord Mayor's Young and Emerging Artists Fellowship recipient and is a Tate Trust Scholar at the Royal College of Music, London, where he completed his Masters of Music in 2019. Connor and I met through the music community in my home city, Brisbane, Australia. And Connor's music has always really come across to me as thoughtful and intentional. I have really always appreciated the way that he intricately weaves his explorations of timbre and texture, whether it's been through acoustic and electronic sound worlds, or even through collaborations of visual art and sound. And Susurrus is Connor's first violin sonata, and I find this piece to be a really beautiful insight into how we can navigate and complement the acoustic possibilities on the violin with electronic manipulation. And also this solo has just really great writing for violin harmonics. I was super enamored by the way Connor explores the range of textural sounds with violin harmonics. I always thought they could only be kind of this like acoustic shimmery breath. But I learned through this piece that they can also be really vulnerable whispers. They can be sweet buzzes and even coarse murmurs. The electronic manipulation used in Susurrus serves to enhance these acoustic timbres and textures. Thank you so much for joining me today, Connor. So lovely to see you.
Lovely to see you as well. Thanks for having me.
Yes. Up early, to join us. I wanted to dive right into it about Susurrus. I want to ask what inspired this piece, and in what forms did these inspirations develop in the work?
Yeah, so I actually wrote this piece originally quite quickly, actually. I think I wrote it in maybe 5 days, 6 days. It was a composition competition that someone, I was in my undergrad and someone had shown me. I think my composition teacher had told me about a composition competition for a solo violin work, so I threw this together for that. Didn't win, but So yeah, I originally wrote it for that, and at the time, I was just interested in kind of exploring some of the ideas that I'd used in like little bits in other pieces, particularly those kind of textures with the harmonics and stuff like that. Stuff that I'd use like as, you know, quote unquote effects, which I kind of hate that word, you know, adding in things for effects. But anyway, like used, you know, in little textural ways in string quartets and stuff like that. And I wanted to just kind of, you know, see what I could do just focusing in on them as the meat of the work. And so yeah, and like a lot of those ideas, those, you know, thinner, wispy, kind of beautiful textures that a violin can make with harmonics and trills and all that other stuff. It just kind of reminded me of like wind and trees or kind of rustling kind of sounds. And I don't know, I think there was a phase like a few years ago where everyone followed like a word of the day Facebook page or something like that. Yeah.
I do
And
remember that.
and Susurrus was the word of the day one day for, and meaning, you know, this soft, thin, distant sounds. You know, like the soft susurrus of a distant brook, or of the susurrus of wind through trees. And so I was just like, okay, sure, that's the title.
Okay. Well, thank you for sharing about your inspirations behind Susurrus, which I've now just been corrected on the way I'm pronouncing it. I'm so sorry.
That's
Um,
right.
so you talked a little bit about the exploring the timbre and the texture with the harmonics and the trills. Did
Mhm.
these timbres grow linearly as you compose, or what kind of questions were you? I mean, also this piece involves live electronic manipulation, and so when you're thinking about adding these electronics as well, they also added texture and timbre alongside the violin. I'm
Yeah.
wondering how they grew together, if they did, or if they grew separately.
So the premiere concert of it, which was in a concert I organized as a part of a concert series that I used to run back in 2015. It was in a concert where, you know, it was in an art gallery, and there were multiple performers at different kind of spots around the venue, and the audience was just wandering around however they wanted, and there was a quadraphonic surround sound system, and multiple other works had used that, you know, quite extensively. And so to kind of blend in out of that one work and into the next seamlessly, I worked with a producer. The producer I was working with to kind of develop a little bit of you know, electronic manipulation and processing that would kind of bring out those textures and bring them into that space. So, you know, it was kind of we looked in at, well, let's use different sends of, you know, different spectral effects and delays and reverbs, whatever, to kind of highlight and bring even more to the forefront and make them kind of more expansive, those thin textures that are kind of the core of the piece. And then to actually take the more fully played material and kind of take it backwards, actually, so that those textures still are a bit more present. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. So what I really gather from all of that, it's very design. It's like a piece that really it's like can be specific for the performer, can be
Yeah,
specific for the site, for the concert repertoire, and I think that's really wonderful. I
totally.
really like the way you've approached that, and really encouraging not just the, you know, the person who's managing or directing, but actually really also encouraging the performer to really think about the space in which they're playing in, the acoustics in which they're working with, the
And also just,
capabilities.
you know,
Yeah,
and their playing style and their taste. You know, I don't want
yeah,
works. You know, I'm not interested in that. Me personally, and with my music, I'm not interested in those works that are, you know, solid pieces of stone that are exactly replicated each time someone else does it. I'm interested in how, you know, that even from a distance, without talking to each other, I get to collaborate with performers and how they bring their own whatever to each performance. Particularly with solo music, but even with chamber music and larger pieces, there's always a bit of that, and that's interesting. And it's interesting to hear how each time it's performed and adapted, and it kind of takes on its own new life, which is great.
Yeah, and this was your first violin sonata.
Yeah, my first solo violin piece. Yeah.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for sharing.
Thank you for having me.
For sharing space with me all the way from Australia. Thank you so
My
much.
pleasure. Thank you for having me.
So, without further ado, please enjoy Aysel Taghi-Zada's performance of Conor Genetto's Susurrus. Thank you for watching episode 26 of Press Play. Thank you, Aysel, for the brilliant performance. And thank you, Dennis Patterson, for the work on the electronics. And a big thank you to the Continuum team, Ryan Scott and Christina Volpini, for the support and opportunity to co-curate. Visit our website, www.continuummusic.ca, to stay tuned for details on our upcoming Hatch Summer Music Mentorship concerts in Toronto, Prince Edward County, and Ottawa. Follow us on social media or sign up on our email list to be the first to know about our exciting plans for next season. And if you like what we are doing, click the support button and make a donation now. Thanks for watching. See you next time.